Hey everyone, Pugs here with two new reviews for y'all. Today I'm covering Born to be Wild and Best Frenemies, two episodes that aren't talked about all that much. This is nothing new, I've covered plenty of lesser known episodes in my season 4 reviews so far, so like with all of those episodes, I'm excited to shine some light on these two. As always, gotta say thank you to everyone watching today and to anyone who's been supporting the channel lately, and now let's just get right into it. Born to be Wild is an episode where I'm gonna be honest and admit I don't have much to say about it. Like, this episode is perfectly alright. It's not super good, but it's not bad. It's good. And the material doesn't give me a ton to work with, but I'll do what I always do and go into far too much detail. Okay, so to start off, the whole plot for this episode is very interesting to me. It's an interesting plot for the show at this point too. The focus on something not directly related to our main characters and on a biker gang of all things is not very characteristic of SpongeBob SquarePants at this point in the show's history. Obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with the episode doing these things, but I just thought it was a good jumping off point for my review of this episode. The beginning of Born to be Wild is kind of meh until the old farmer fish starts telling SpongeBob all about the biker gang, subsequently jumping back into a hole. The transition from the first to second segment of the episode is also one of my favorite jokes in the whole show, with SpongeBob riding the bubble transition. Like, that was utter brilliance. The following scene of SpongeBob trying to convince Mr. Krabs of the perceived danger is just okay, and reminds me a lot of Once Bitten. I like how it ended though, with the whole "that kid needs a vacation," unpaid of course. That line is funnier when you think of Bummer Vacation. Also, I like how the dramatic tension here is actually being crafted pretty well with the continued cuts to the biker gang getting closer and closer. The part where SpongeBob asks Squidward for help is pretty funny as well. I keep being surprised with how funny I find these jokes, because from the outset, this episode really feels like it'll be a boring one, even if I think the plot is kind of interesting. And while most of these jokes aren't laugh out loud outrageously hilarious, they're still pretty funny, which is all I need them to be. I like the bit with Patrick and his demand of a hello. That was funny. See, you can have Patrick be an asshole to SpongeBob without it being annoying or unwarranted. Driven to tears in some future episodes, take some damn notes. SpongeBob and Patrick running around is less funny, but it's entertaining enough. And then their plan to dress as bikers makes enough sense, I suppose. At least it gives them some cool fits. And I thought it was a funny bit of subverted expectations, where at first the two look like they're riding motorcycles, only for it to be revealed that they're actually riding a bike and a unicycle. Those two are such dorks, and I love it. Then we move back to the Krusty Krab, and things get less funny again. I did like the back and forth with SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward about biker gangs, groups, clubs, alliances, etc. Again, this is why those researchers a couple years ago found that the show had a bunch of vocabulary words. Also, Mr. Krabs just casually saying that bikers are going to beat SpongeBob and Patrick up not once but twice was pretty funny. The flashbacks of SpongeBob overreacting were unexpected but funny. However, Squidward and SpongeBob end up continuing the joke way too long by elaborating on it, and in general, I think the joke would have worked better if they just left it at SpongeBob being like, "When have I ever been known to overreact?" and then a beat, and then back to the episode, because we, the audience, have seen other episodes of this show by this point, most likely, so we know what this character's like. Finally, the bikers show up, and I love Squidward's bit with the binoculars. I love some visual expressiveness. Patrick running away was also hilarious and reminded me a lot of the ending of SpongeBob Meets the Strangler. And then we get some of my favorite kind of chaos, with Squidward getting everyone in a frenzy over the wild ones coming. I also thought Squidward's unapologetic butt kissing was pretty fun. However, the payoff with the wild ones turning out to be the mild ones was a bit weak, I must admit. I think it would have worked more if 1, we got like one more scene connected to them cunning, and 2, their entrance was a little more dramatic. But I'm okay with what we have too, so it's fine. And I like the old guy sassing off Mr. Krabs. Squidward riding off with them in the end is such an unexpected ending, considering how he wasn't a central character of this episode until halfway in, but I'm cool with it. All in all, Born to be Wild is a good episode. I feel like there was a lot of build-up to things that ended up paying off in a, let's say, a different way. Let's take Patrick's appearance in this episode as an example. He's ride or die with SpongeBob until he runs off, which was funny, but like he just disappears from the episode after that. And Mr. Krabs ends up doing basically nothing here, and honestly SpongeBob doesn't end up doing much either, because it's Squidward who ends up having the real confrontation with the bikers. So all of that is a bit odd. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like the characters we expect to see doing things and end up not doing things, and the characters we expect to do nothing end up doing something. Moving on, while this episode isn't super funny, it is still funny. There are some lulls in this episode as well. So taken together, I'd say this episode belongs in my good tier, where it comes in with a score of 7 out of 10, because I can't justify putting it lower than that. Coming up next is Best Frenemies. I think that this episode is an excellent demonstration of the dynamic between Mr. Krabs and Plankton, something I talked about most recently during my review of New Leaf, And a while back, like back during my season 1 reviews, I think, I said that I liked when Plankton interacted with the main cast in a not strictly villainous manner, and this episode gave me just what I needed in that regard. Seeing Mr. Krabs and Plankton reluctantly work together is great, and their interactions are super entertaining and funny. I'll talk more about this as the review goes on, but I'd say that this is the biggest selling point of Best Frenemies. I love the expressions Mr. Krabs wears in the very first part of this episode. I really like when the animators and storyboarders make his eye stalks super expressive. I just think that it's innately amusing. And this episode wastes no time in introducing us to the real plot, as kelp shakes start appearing immediately. And they're so beloved that when Mr. Krabs is like, no outside drinks, everyone leaves. They're so beloved that even Squidward is drinking one in secret. And we know from just one bite that Squidward doesn't just choose his food willy-nilly. Or maybe he does, considering how at the end of that episode he just ran free of his desires, but then he exploded. Either way, perhaps he didn't learn the lesson. I also love how Pearl appears in this episode, and Mr. Krabs' betrayal at Pearl drinking a kelp shake is hilarious. Those things must really be addictive for everyone to be getting one. It reminds me of when those Panera charged lemonades were popular, if anyone is familiar with those. Or like when Starbucks was at its peak. Also, ill. Starbucks. Fuck that Zionist anti-unit place. Do not get your coffee there. Disgusting. Anyway, things really get to moving, not that they weren't before, once Mr. Krabs finds Plankton lounging outside of a kelp shake restaurant. Is this the first time we've seen Plankton simply chilling, not scheming or anything? It's nice to see other sides of his character, like how he isn't always on his stealing the secret recipe stuff, just like how Mr. Krabs isn't always on his opposing Plankton stuff. And I love how upset Plankton is at these kelp shakes now driving him out of the business of competing with Mr. Krabs. You know what this reminds me of? Plankton in this episode is exactly like Vegeta during the Dragon Ball movies where he's always like, I'm the only one who could kill Kakarot. Like, that's exactly what's going on here. That possessive rivalry shit. Anyway, the episode even provides us with a nice air of mystery as the kelp shake stores start multiplying like crazy, almost like a disease. From here, we get to see all sorts of fun shenanigans as Mr. Krabs and Plankton work together to try and steal the kelp shake's secret formula, and I love it. It's like a role reversal mixed with a general dynamic shakeup between these two. It's just so fun. I think my favorite part of this whole thing has to be when it's at night. Plankton getting hit by his own machine is hilarious, and I love how SpongeBob shows up out of nowhere, and Mr. Krabs and Plankton have to lie horribly, and I love SpongeBob just buying their obvious lie, undercutting the tension amazingly because of how silly it is. Poor Plankton really just gets the short end of the stick in each of these schemes, and I love how he brings it up after the semi-montage of convoluted schemes. And the back and forth insulting between Mr. Krabs and Plankton is great. I love the dialogue here, and I love how the one who has to set them straight about how to get their hands on the kelp shake is SpongeBob of all people. And he's right, buying a kelp shake would be a lot easier than whatever those two doofuses are doing. But I guess it makes sense that buying it was the last idea in their mind, considering how hard it was for Mr. Krabs to even get a dollar. Also, damn, where can I get a shake for $1? Finally, we find out what the secret formula of the kelp shake is. It's kelp juice. Well, not just kelp juice, but that's the ingredient Mr. Krabs and Plankton fixate on. I think Karen did that on purpose, not announcing the other ingredient along with the rest. Smells like attempted murder to me. I'm joking. Just making that clear. And then it's nice to see Mr. Krabs and Plankton share a kelp shake with only minimal prodding and bickering. Whatever that other ingredient is, it must be some kind of addictive substance, because with just half a shake, those two were addicted. And whatever that other ingredient is, clearly it isn't healthy, given how it literally causes people to grow green fur all over their bodies. Freaky. I love how this episode ends with a nice emphasis that this team-up between Mr. Krabs and Plankton was merely temporary, and the two have fun hating each other as Plankton runs off with the formula. Best Frenemies is a weird episode, and I love how the title reveals none of this. But, I mean, the entire kelp shake plot is very weird. The fact that these stores have just popped up out of nowhere and suddenly everyone has one, it's weird. But it's also realistic, which I think makes it funnier. I'm sure that this kind of thing happened in 2007 when this episode aired, but this kind of fad adoption is still super prevalent today. Like, Stanley Cups. What the fuck even are those? Honestly, it makes me think of meme culture because you'll be minding your business and suddenly a meme is everywhere, especially on Twitter, which is my typical hangout when it comes to the big social media apps. And yes, I'm aware I'm on a sinking ship in that regard, but I made my peace with that a long time ago. Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier, which is already besides my main point, but whatever. It's also fun when you see a meme before it gets big. My claim to fame is that I was on top of the Ultra Instinct Shaggy meme before it became popular, being a joint Dragon Ball and Scooby-Doo fan. Anyway, none of this has to do with the weirdness of the episode, so let me get back to it. So we have these kelp shakes that are suddenly popular and they're sold at these shady ass stores. And then we kind of find out that there's something in these kelp shakes, something that is quite literally hazardous, which causes the entire kelp shake business to get shut down, that literally causes thick green hair slash fur to grow all over people's bodies. What? And then we get no explanation for that. But I don't think we need one. It's just absurd and ridiculous and a great example of the random absurd humor and plot twist of SpongeBob SquarePants. I really enjoy Best Frenemies. I have no problems with it whatsoever. It's funny, enjoyable, and different from other episodes with the focus on Mr. Krabs and Plankton teaming up. And it's also just got that weirdness factor and great use of suspense and mystery to keep things real engaging. So this episode is definitely in my amazing tier, where it comes in for a score of 9.3 out of 10. As always, gotta end this review with some closing thoughts of mine, although I really and truly have none. So instead, I'm gonna leave you all with a question. What do you think was in those kelp shakes? It's something I always wondered when I was a kid, and I want to know if you guys did too. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next review.